Imagine facing the ultimate punishment for a crime you swear you didn't commit. Could you live with that? That's the harrowing reality for Lance Shockley, a 48-year-old man on Missouri's death row, scheduled to be executed this Tuesday. Despite his steadfast claims of innocence in the 20-year-old murder of a state trooper, the state's governor has just denied his plea for mercy. But here's where it gets controversial. Is this justice or a grave mistake? Let's dive into the details and see why this case has sparked so much debate. Lance Shockley has spent the last 2 decades behind bars, convicted of first-degree murder for allegedly gunning down Missouri State Highway Patrol Sergeant Carl Graham at his home on March 20, 2005. Court documents paint a picture of a calculated crime. Prosecutors argued that Shockley was desperate to halt an ongoing investigation into a fatal car accident from November 2004, where one of his friends died. They claimed he borrowed a red Pontiac Grand Am from his grandmother, drove to Graham's house, waited for the patrolman to arrive, and then shot him multiple times as he stepped out of his vehicle before fleeing the scene. Witnesses spotted a similar red car nearby around the time of the incident, and bullet fragments from Shockley's uncle's property supposedly matched those found at the crime site. It's a scenario that sounds like something out of a crime thriller. But for Shockley, it's a nightmare he insists isn't his. And this is the part most people miss. The defense has relentlessly pointed out that the case hinges mostly on circumstantial evidence, not solid proof. Shockley's legal team has fought through numerous appeals, arguing that their client never got a fair shot at trial or a just sentencing. They claim the prosecution overlooked other potential suspects and, crucially, failed to perform DNA testing on up to 16 key pieces of evidence from the murder scene. This whole case has been plagued by shoddy investigation from day one, said Jeremy Wise, one of Shockley's attorneys. In a statement from a website supporting his clemency bid, the timeline doesn't add up, suspects were ignored, and vital items haven't been DNA tested. These could reveal what truly happened that night, yet the courts shot down our request to test them. For beginners wondering why DNA matters here, think of it like this. DNA evidence can definitively link or exonerate someone, like fingerprints in the digital age. Without it, doubts linger, especially in a case this old. Despite the conviction, the jury couldn't agree on Shockley's fate, life in prison or death by lethal injection. In a twist unique to Missouri and Indiana, when jurors deadlock like that, a judge steps in to decide. The presiding judge in Shockley's case chose the death penalty, according to records. This practice, as explained by the Death Penalty Information Center, a nonpartisan group tracking capital punishment data, raises eyebrows because it puts enormous power in one person's hands rather than a group of peers. Is this fair, or does it undermine the jury system? Many argue it could lead to inconsistencies, especially in high-stakes cases where emotions run high. Governor Mike Kehoe stood firm on Monday, rejecting Shockley's clemency petition, a request for leniency or pardon that could spare his life. Shockley has exhausted all constitutional protections under Missouri and federal law, Kehoe stated. His sentence stands for a vicious, intentional act. The state remains committed to upholding justice. As a result, the execution is set to proceed at the state prison in Bonne Terre via lethal injection. To put this in perspective, clemency is like a governor's last-minute opportunity to commute a sentence, often granted when new evidence or doubts emerge, but it's rare and discretionary. Now, here's the controversial twist. What if Shockley's innocence claims are valid? Critics of the death penalty point to cases where wrongful convictions have been overturned years later, thanks to things like DNA advancements. Missouri's approach, allowing a judge to override a deadlocked jury, fuels debates about whether the system prioritizes closure over accuracy. Supporters say it ensures accountability for heinous crimes, but detractors worry it risks executing the innocent. And let's not forget the broader implications. Does this reflect a justice system that's infallible, or one that's sometimes too hasty? What do you think? Should executions go forward when innocence is loudly proclaimed and evidence questions remain? Is Missouri's judge-imposed death sentence rule a safeguard or a flaw? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with the governor's decision? Or does this case make you question the death penalty altogether? Let's discuss.